Yahoo! Let's see if we're live. I think we're live, guys. I'm just tweeting this out. Alright. Got that tweeted out. And we are live according to Twitch here. So what's happening today is I need to work on more PC stuff, and a bunch more accessories and parts came in so I can finish off that like custom cooler for the RX 580, stuff like that. I got on here. These are Bluetooth Cost Porter Pros. Much better than, well, I'm not saying they're better headphones than IAIs, because they're not. They're very good for the money, not necessarily the Bluetooth ones. The standard Porter Pros. I think the Bluetooth ones are pretty darn expensive. I got these as a review unit, so, yeah. Definitely not for airplanes. That's where I originally tried them when I was going over to Portland and Seattle on an airplane, a couple years ago. Not great for that. But they're great for this because I don't want to, like those IAIs, when you're listening to stuff, great, but you feel very closed in. And in this case, I don't want to be disconnected from my environment. I'm also talking a lot to the camera or you guys. And these being, well, there's no back. They're not just open back. There's just straight up no back. So you're very aware of your surroundings. That's also why I like AirPods, even the original ones or the Pros. The Pros work even though they're in-ear because they have the pass-through. Otherwise, they would feel, potentially just as claustrophobic because they like a standard in-ear pair of headphones, but they also don't go in your ear. They kind of just seal around it. But yeah, so that's why we're switching over to these. I kind of forgot I had them because I didn't really see a use for them because I normally just use my AirPods. And we could use them here. Battery life on those can be low, I will say. Like per charge. Like you can put them back in the things for a little bit and charge them up. But I also wanted to use similar headphones. I got a whole bunch of these, especially got these for review. Might as well use them. You know what I mean? I use the AirPods every day at work for calls. They're the best Bluetooth headset ever. But they also sound pretty darn good for music, or good enough for music. Yeah, so these are what I'm using instead. We got not a new camera, but a new angle. We can adjust it a little bit, but that way I can have a top-down view for you guys. If you guys can see it here, this is the GoPro clamp with another mod to be able to put a standard camera on it, and I just put my extra and extended it. So it's nothing too spectacular there. But it'll do for now. The big issue with that GoPro clamp is it's not wide enough to do like a 2x4. Even the short way, like the 2-inch way. Which, and a lot of my stuff around here is built with like a 2x4 with a single board on top of that. So it's, it's not wide enough. I gotta go find a different clamp. That's why I found all those different accessories, basically make my own. Once I do finally get that worked out, I'll share it with you guys, because this is all stuff that already exists. And probably would end up being, if you're not trying to test a bunch of different stuff, would end up being cheaper than the GoPro version. I did try putting those together. I have a pliers that snaps the lock line together, and that's super nice. It just pops together. Taking it apart, still gotta kind of. There's no easy way to do that, but the pliers makes putting it together so much easier. It's worth a couple bucks, in my opinion. So let me get this. Just trying to get my stories updated here. Stories and fleets, because those seem to be the best way. I mean, let me know where you guys see my stuff going live so I know where to post more. Gonna post over in Discord as well. Just got a new pair of headphones that you guys should hopefully see a video on pretty soon. Direct from Japan. Alright. First off, let's test out the new camera here. There you go. It's a little cockeyed, but there you go. Actually, I would like it turned the other way. This is really extended out, so I don't know how much this clamp, but yeah, and the lock line kind of like extending out that far. I don't know how great it's going to be at that, but if I could clamp it up higher initially, I could use a shorter bit. But there you go, you know? I don't have to hold the Razor camera. So here is the stack of stuff that came in this past week. And there's actually a thing upstairs, so I'll be right back. I gotta grab one more thing I forgot about. Alright, there's the last thing right there. We did get two different fans. These are the only two that I could find on the internet that weren't like custom order. And even this Delta kinda is. Custom order that are 15 mil thick, I believe. And then they are 80 mil fans, 15 mil thick, and then they're PWM. Because they need to be PWM for the what do I call it? The GPU to be able to control them. Right here is the adapter, GPU 4-pin PWM to standard case fan PWM. Here's what we need to test because I want the quieter of those two fans, or the more powerful, which either one. Oh, Gertrude's looking for cat food. Give me a second, Gertrude. Hold on. Gertrude, here you go. You want to eat right there? You can eat right there. What this is, looks like your standard laptop AC adapter. Super handy though, because it has a Molex plug on the end there, and it will provide 2 amps of 12 volt and 2 amps of 5 volt out of this. Use the right adapter, and we can spin up those fans and see what they sound like. Since realistic, and to me that Delta feels built way better, but I bought both because, you know, one may be better optimized for what we're doing here. Then we have, these are something that I will be using on a bunch of builds, just keeping near my test station here. Just these little nubbins. You might have seen on a previous stream me showing choosing these or buying these. These are so, and you'll see it, what we're going to be doing in a moment here, there'll be, you know, like antenna holes on the back of a motherboard. And say if you don't necessarily want to have to like go get yourself a big antenna or like have big antennas sticking off the back, this will at least be enough to have an antenna. Which in most cases, with how strong my Wi-Fi is, I have my Wi-Fi, this is enough to at least get a signal for, you know, like basic setup and that sort of stuff. When you just need an intranet to troubleshoot a computer or something, like you're not worried about like speed or transferring data or uploading stuff. You don't have to worry about like a big thing that has to stand on your desk or that you have to have sticking off the back. These are apparently for FPV drones. Who knew? But I won't be needing those. I might actually end up needing those in a bit here today. Here we have Wise Tiger. Wise Tiger. I just think it's funny what they name it. And this is a basically in here it's an Intel AX210 Wi-Fi card, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth card. That's going in the home theater PC because I don't necessarily need the Wi-Fi. It's sometimes good if I need to troubleshoot something, but the what I do need it for is the Bluetooth for controllers. Then what we have here is 2 sets. This is basically an extra one because I run into needing these more than I would think. Also, if I just want to drop a Wi-Fi card into something, like a desktop or something temporarily and get access, you still need these little leads to go to your full-size antennas. If I end up using these little nubbins here. And I did find out what these were. Because before they were U.FL, it seems like there's different specs for those now. See if I can grab that for you guys. It is a MHF4 to RPSMA. Apparently the original U.FL spec for the MPCIe, or whatever, I think it was MPCIe, is what they would have called that before, was the 2 version of that. But yeah, that's what you gotta make sure, is that's what's compatible with these little M.2 Wi-Fi cards. And I got 2 of those, like I said, because I use those pretty often, also just for general putting together systems. I'll probably keep those on hand here. Then we have some nice thin, this is not for the home theater PC, maybe eventually, but this set, if you look here, nice thin SATA cables. Right here. And these are for the other SATA devices that are not on the HBA in the server, just because I like using these. These are the same type of cables you'll see on a SAS cable, like will be in the server already. These are a 5-pack of 18-inch straight. And normally I would do right angle, but the ones that came on the HBA/SAS controller are also straight, so might as well keep it consistent, because I'd rather have all of them going the same way than a couple nicely cable managed with right angle, and then all the ones off the HBA not. If that makes sense. And then here we have our 2 fans that we're going to be making fit the RX 580. Well, maybe not both of them. One of them will be making fit. I'm going to give them both a test out here and see which one I prefer. Here is a Delta. Both of these are dual ball bearing. This one to me, I thought the Delta was going to be better built, and so far it's looking that way. And this other one is a Evercool silent fan. I think it's also a dual ball bearing. There's more blades on this guy, which generally means better static pressure and quieter operation, because you don't get, hey, I needed one of these to test these out, so this will be lucky me. Here you go, Molex 2 3-pin fan, really only 2-pin because it's just sending 12 volts. I would have had to go find one of these. These also with the clip here, like that, where it's just the clip, are super nice because you don't have to cut off a part if you need to plug a 4-pin into a 3-pin. It's already open over there. And most of these brands will put, like, the notches are still at a 3-pin fan notch. See? Even though they're a 4-pin. So you can plug a 4-pin into a 3-pin like that. However, it's shrouded. You have to cut out part of the shroud over here so it'll fit. So we'll use this adapter that came with the Evercool to test both of these. Yeah, this Evercool doesn't feel bad. I already feel like the bearing feels worse. Yeah, it feels lighter too in general. The Evercool is actually more than the Delta, because the Delta is more of an OEM fan, from my understanding, generally. Keeping those are little tiny fan screws. I'm gonna keep those, even if I don't use them in this build. All right, so I'm gonna toss this out real quick, and then we'll get working. The first thing we're gonna do is get the home theater PC over here Wi-Fi, as I need to get Windows installing on it. Oh, well, it's actually installed on there already, but get drivers installed on it. We can test these fans out too. Worst case, I have a thin 80mm on hand from the one I don't use. Time to pause the music. Ooh, I should have done this over by you guys. Hold on. Ugh. Let's get more over. So I can hold it up to the mic for you. That's my finger in the fan. And now you guys, if you guys were wondering why I put fan grills and everything, that's why. So here's max RPM of the Evercool. That's my finger going in it. That's also my finger going in it. Alright. Decent amount of air coming off there. Not very focused, however. And here is the Delta. I expect it to be louder, but a lot more air. Maybe if we don't run this thing at full tilt, it might be reasonable. But I think it's spinning at a much, much higher RPM. I should have gotten. There you go. I'm right up here. Mike's right over to my left, your right of the webcam there. Yeah, this thing pushes much less air. Yeah, that thing. Well, let's see if either of these two natively fit in that heatsink. That'd be another thing, because if I don't have to modify one, I'll be a bit biased then, you know? I do not, the one thing that has not come in, because it's coming from China, PCI Express bracket. Oh, they're all so close. Yep, neither fits. This Delta, I'm going to have to sleeve the cables, I think. I might try that one first. I think it's just more optimized, for those wondering. Take a look here. See the fan layout on that? It's just far more static pressure optimized. And especially because the shroud is gone. Like this, with those big breaks in between the fan blades, that seems much more like a case fan. Like, it's not bad. I think this one's a bit more whiny as well. The Delta does get louder, but it's only when it has super high RPM. I'm hoping because a lot of the time, A, it's a server, gonna be the back room. But B, like, unless I'm using this GPU, it's not gonna be doing much. So I probably want it to go like that. Yeah. So like that. Get you guys over the Razer camera here. There you go. So I want this to, the cable coming out over here, so I can cable manage along the top here with that adapter. I may, to be truthful, even cut down this cable, because the adapter that's going on here, go. So this is kind of pinned under there right like that. I think that's gonna be the best. So realistically, I only need this fan cable to be like that long. So probably gonna, like, once I make sure that this actually fits, because I have to sand down the sides in order for that to happen, and then it should literally be right on this height of this. And that's why I didn't get a fan grill. I was originally planning on it, but with this being the correct height, I should not have to, it should be flush on this heatsink if done correctly. And let me get a silver Sharpie or another color Sharpie so I can mark the sides so I know which side I have to sand down. Alright, so the sides that, if it's sitting here and that's coming out over there, the stuff that has to get sanded down course going to be, you know, that side and that side. And I'll just have to, you know, have a go at it. And see how much has to actually come off for it to be viable. I don't think it's much. And then, don't forget, I have to figure out some way to actually attach the dang thing. I might already have a solution for that. We'll have to see. Because if this sits here, none of the fan screws actually line up. And you don't want to use adhesive because it's just going to get hot on the heatsink there and fall off. So I'll have to figure something out once I get to that point. Maybe I can tie wrap it or something, but it should fit very flush once we get that far. Oh, and I remembered I just spent time putting that cable in there, and I haven't replaced the thermal paste yet. Good job, me. So that side's got to come down, and as does that side. I really don't think it's much that needs to happen. So putting the paint marker on there too, you know, like once you sand off the paint marker, you gotta, you know, get a mount off at least. So first up here, that is a decently dusty. Because it's been on for doing nothing. I forgot to turn it off for like a couple weeks. This has to come out. How much these fans pull in at full RPM is kind of crazy. These are Swift-Tech Helix fans. Decent fans, actually. A little bit on the loud side, but high static pressure. I don't know anything about this old Antec 300 here. And that is the fact that the filter is under the front panel. So you have to disassemble the entire front to get to the filter, rather than just like pull it off or open a door. So first things first, just gotta disconnect a couple things here. I already yanked the GPU out because it had the 760 that I was testing. That still does not have a load on it because there has been I haven't got drivers on it yet. So we still don't know if it fully works, but I think I fixed it. Yeah, this is X570. With that dust just got to me. Whoa, sorry. X570 with my 2600 that was previously in the server. as well as 16 gigs of G.Skill FlareX 3200. I'm hoping that by the time this thing needs more, I mean, it will actually just end up being just a home theater PC finally. So just games, and games for the most part aren't gonna, especially because it's home theater PC. I only game generally when I run this. So, I'm not too worried about not having enough RAM. I think we'll be fine. And worst case, I'm hoping that eventually I can pull some more RAM from another system. HTPC has 32 gigs. Say maybe by the time this thing needs 32, it goes to 64 or something. Just stock cooler for now. It has a proper cooler, or will have a proper cooler once it's actually in as the home theater PC. It'll have Square's U14S, unless something changes. But that's the plan. Because it doesn't need, for a 2600, it was going to have a D15S. Does not need that. So now, motherboard should be free. Bam. And that's why you have a case that's pre-wired with a power supply and fans and everything. So, it'd be nice to have a test bed rather than a full-size case, but that Antec 300 is durable, you know? So, what we're doing here is, if you see this one that's marked M.2 Wi-Fi, that is getting populated. I'm going to have to find the motherboard box to find the screw for it. Peel off a little sticker. I'm thinking that's so like dust and shit doesn't get in there, or that could possibly touch like the back of the motherboard or something if there's no card in there, or not back of the motherboard, back of the graphics card. So it looked like the non-conductive. I'll give you a little tiny screwdriver in here. Ooh, there's screws. You can feel them. Okay, so I don't have to go dig in the motherboard box. They even give you like a little tiny disc for a driver. Don't use that. I'll probably keep the little box. It's kind of nice. Wise tiger. And here's what they put it in, an SD card thing that it doesn't actually fit into. But hey, whatever. Could be worse. So what we're putting in here is an AX211, which is the latest one from Intel. Sorry, 210. The AX200 is what I was thinking of. The 211 is AM or Intel V Pro only. It's like the business one that's built into their motherboards and stuff like that. The 210 is the 200, and then the 210 are the ones designed to work with they were designed to work with AMD systems, which this is. Or think about that, if they've made them work with AMD systems, that also means they'll work with older Intel systems. So you can stick this, as long as you can, it has an M.2 slot for Wi-Fi like this, you can stick these brand new cards in there. So as old as 4th gen probably, and you'd be good. So this guy just drops right in here. And then we got our screw that'll hold it on. Now the other thing that they included here is a little shield that goes over the little Wi-Fi antennas, which I will actually use. That's actually kind of like a neat little thing they shipped with it. Let's see here. Yeah, that's a Philips One. Which I have a Philips One right here. We're just gonna, actually we're holding off on putting this in. I'll show you why in a second here. I'm just listening on my phone right now, guys. I'm just listening to like all my music. I usually listen to just everything just shuffled, unless I find an artist I'm specifically into at that moment or time. You know, I picked up one of their tracks on shuffle, and I'm just jamming out or something like that. Usually I'll just run my entire collection on shuffle, because I like everything in my collection. It wouldn't be there if I didn't like it. I know, crazy, right? So here's the thing, guys. In order to get the antennas mounted right here, if you notice, and this has the built-in I/O shield. Well, it's not actually really built-in. There's 2 screws on the back side here, which I'm guessing are also Philips One. Here's a Philips 2. Yeah, so we already have Philips One out. What we need to do is pull. Oh, this is too long. Let's get us a shorter one here. Shorter. Here's a super skinny Philips One. Even though it looks that skinny, it's still a Philips One. The super skinny ones are nice to be able to get into places. Okay, so what we gotta do is we gotta take this rear I/O shield off. That's the first step. That should be it. Yep, you just gotta unhook it. And then it looks like it flips up. And it's clipped on the top, it looks like. Alright. So it looks like we might have to do more than just those 2 screws to make this easier. There's also 2 screws right here that hold this rear I/O cover on, the plastic part of it, I should say. There we go. And that's where the RGB is, if you want to disable the RGB. All I'm trying to do right now is get this I/O plate off here. There we go. I/O shield is off. Now we can get this back on, hopefully. So I should be able to get that I/O plate back on with this still on here. Getting off seemed to be, because there's little hooks under this rear I/O cover, the plastic rear I/O cover, that I couldn't get unhooked with it there. I should be able to rehook them though. We're just going to do this lightly. I can snug up later with a little bigger bit. But what needs to happen now, we'll flip it over, is I need antenna wires here. Yeah, if the motherboard already comes with the Wi-Fi card that you want, like say if this Extreme 4 would have shipped with an AX211 or AX210, I wouldn't be putting it in myself because it's usually like a $10 to $20 difference. The card is that much, if not more, when you buy it separately. Then you gotta buy antennas, etc. However, a lot of these, especially these X570 motherboards, are gonna ship with much older chipsets for the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So what you gotta do here is this now. The reason why I got this off is the Wi-Fi are going right there, in there. So you gotta take out all the hardware, off all the hardware, I should say. If you want, you can even take this out of the center to make it easier to work with. Because we really want this RPSMA connector. That's the pin essentially of the RPSMA. We want the generally how you do this. It comes with one of the lock washers with the things that bite into it. It comes with a standard lock washer and it comes with a nut. I might be wrong in this, but normally there's a flat spot on these. See that? There's one side that's flat, and if you look here, there's a flat spot on the cutout as well. You can see that. So you got to make sure that you put the flat with the flat. I also usually put that lock washer with the teeth on the back side. That way, it just makes it a little bit wider back there. Hamlet's here to check out what's going on, guys. You can probably see him right here. Damn it. Then you put the lock washer on, and then you put your nut on. And you just tighten her down. Makes it actually easier to take that pin out of the back. You can always screw it back in. And what you do is get yourself yourself two pliers, except mine keep being magnetized to each other. And other things, because I have so many magnets around here. And you just tighten this down. I would get it tight, because remember, you're attaching antennas, or at a minimum, antenna wires to this. You could use like a socket if you have one that's the right size. I probably have some, but you know they would all be all the way over in the next room. You know. You don't have to have it like super duper tight, but remember, if you don't want this unscrewing when you go to unscrew your antennas or your antenna wires. That seems solid to me. And do be aware that these wires are very delicate. This is the type of stuff you normally see inside of a laptop. Maybe wondering, like, why are you putting a laptop Wi-Fi card in your desktop? Well, why re-engineer the wheel? You know, they already make Wi-Fi and Bluetooth for laptops. Why re-engineer the product just because it's a desktop? That's what they always used to do. And then I found out, sort of, when PCIe cards tend to be a thing, even the ones that said, oh, we have this special Asus one that's in the back, if you gutted it, it just had a laptop Wi-Fi card in a metal box. But then Asus would brand it as, Asus or ASRock would brand it as their own product when it was really just a Intel, or usually not Intel, because Intel back then was still only compatible with Intel. It'd be like a Realtek, or like in the case of like older Intel, it couldn't not be in a chipset or something like that. I'm happy that they now have the differentiation of it was like the 201 and the 200 originally. And if you guys are wondering, the 200 is not, AX200 is not a bad card at all. The 200 is Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5, I want to say. But the 210 is even better at Wi-Fi 6E, which is what Wi-Fi 6 really should have been if they didn't rush it. And then like Bluetooth 5.2 or something like that, if I recall. But it's just a little bit better. So if you're gonna go out and buy one, you know, buy the 210. Price difference is not that great. Now, if you already have a 200, unless you have Wi-Fi 6E access points that you regularly use, I see the 200 is super nice already. Oh, and for a while there, Intel actually had some bad, or maybe it wasn't Intel, but there were some, like the 300 series was not great. The 7260 was the last one that was MPCIe, and then they had those also in embedded and the M.2 style. So yeah, I would upgrade away from that because those aren't really supported anymore. They got their last driver updates a little while ago. So I would, and since most of those are, well, you have to open it up. If it's an M.2, you can stick a AX200, AX210 in there if you want. If it's an MPCIe one, you're screwed. Because that was the last one that Intel made, to my knowledge, as an MPCIe. But a lot of these systems, like if you have shit Wi-Fi in your laptop, you can probably upgrade this. There have been a couple people that have been in Discord and on Twitter that have done that upgrade, and they're like, it's so much better. Like, even if yes, it's Wi-Fi 6, even if you have Wi-Fi 6, but the newer cards are just so much better, like driver optimized, better radios, better everything, that it's just a solid upgrade. To bring, like, say you have a 6th gen laptop that's still only dual core, you know, but it's plenty for browsing the web. You'd be surprised if you stick a nice SSD in it, a bunch more RAM, you know, get it up to 16 gigs of RAM. It's probably got 8, or even 32, and then stick a nice Wi-Fi card in that thing. That thing will blaze for websites. Just be a speed freaking demon. So then, remember this part is what holds onto the back, what makes this actually lock in. So then what we gotta do is we gotta feed these little antenna wires, and I measured the last stream how long these had to be to make it from the back of this panel here nicely to this M.2 Wi-Fi, and then we can always stick the extra up into this shroud here. 20 millimeter or 20 centimeters seems to be the standard. I went 30 because I was measuring like 24 was going to be the optimal length. Okay, there's little clips on the inside here. You just clip that in like so, and we're back on. I just got to put the screws on the back there. It is a little fiddly, but if you guys have ever done any laptop work, this is easier than that. So a lot of the same parts and screw sizes. Normally for a desktop, I would have said previously you only needed a Phillips 2. If you start doing M.2 related stuff, as well as like these little Wi-Fi cards, you're going to need at least a Phillips 1, if not a Phillips 0 or 00, which that's what laptops used to be before they started going Torx and all this crazy stuff. Pentalobe and, you know, like I said, crazy stuff. Alright, so now we got our M.2 Wi-Fi, and we got to determine which way we want to go with these wires. I can't go all, like, because I could go under this heatsink up and around. It's not going to be long enough to do that. I would have had to get a much longer, yeah, we could go on like that. So we're going to go yeah, looking at this now, I'd probably say get a shorter, the 20 centimeter that seemed to be the standard on Amazon. Seems to be that there was a reason why. Do be aware that when you do this though, you're gonna lose these 1x slots down here. Could have been used but for 4x, just by length, or if you take the shroud off even longer, you're not gonna be able to do that anymore. Because it's going to physically, when you stick a longer than 1x card or maybe a 2x card in, it's going to physically hit the Wi-Fi card here. I could have probably looked at the Wi-Fi version of this board or another board that has it just to see how they have it routed, and I might do just that. And maybe these aren't all that too long, because like I said, I used another wire that I had to approximate, and we were getting like 24 centimeters. So I didn't want to be too short, you know? Of course, I get one. There you go. One's on, and I kick the other one off. Yeah, we got enough to get the Wi-Fi card like over there. Let me take a look at what we've got on the websites here. I'm just looking up ASRock X570 Wi-Fi. They have a Phantom Gaming 4. I can share my screen actually. I forgot about that. Let's go scene 4 here. There you guys go. So, Steel Legend is basically the same as a Extreme 4. Extreme 4 just has a PCIe or Type C here. Really? It's not letting me zoom in at all. There we go. Yeah, so it just goes up into the shroud. I would say definitely order shorter than the 30 centimeter that I ordered. Definitely order shorter than 30 centimeters. Because now I gotta find a place to tile this up. I mean, the 30 centimeters is probably great for the other use I have, which is just temporarily popping this on a card like this and having it dangle about in a system. Which you gotta be careful of the antennas once again. But, so if we need to go here, that's a lot of slack I need to. $20 might have even been too long. I wish they would just specify like what freaking length they used. If we go. This is way too long. Well, I need to screw this down real quick just so the card doesn't go everywhere. And what's really nice about this kit, which I've ordered before and I swear it didn't come with this, is it comes with a little metal thing that makes sure wouldn't this hurt? I'm going to put a little piece of electrical tape on that because I just thought this. You're putting metal bridging over two antennas. That might not be good. Think about that, right? Like, because the backside of those connectors is antenna. Because it's the outside pin and the inside pin. So I'm just going to cut. Heck, I can just stick it to it, I guess, right? And then we can cut it. I just don't think. I'm trying to think if the ones inside of computers, I think they're usually plastic, not metal like this. So there we go, we got just a little bit of electrical tape wrapped around that. Might make the fit a little tighter, but oh, and always check if your screw actually fits. So that's another thing that we're good. Could have been the wrong threading. Make sure that stays on top of your little antennas there. There you go. They're not going to easily become just randomly. Oh, mine's sitting on my card a little bit there. There you go. You just want them over the little back side of those antennas there. Alright. Yeah, I think that electric tape's a good idea. I don't know. It just seems like all the ones I've used and seen in laptops. If you guys think I'm wrong, hit me up in the comments. But all the ones I've seen otherwise have either been plastic or covered like that or something, And there we go. I just fed the extra into a little shroud there. And now we have Wi-Fi. One second, drivers. Key thing there, drivers. I'm gonna have to move that cart so I can actually get over there. Alright. Let's move this PC case. Eventually I get back in there. Alright, then I just put that. I had a temporary Wi-Fi card in here. Just put that away. That's a 3268. That's about as low as you want to go. Like, if you just want to keep an extra M.2 Wi-Fi card around to chuck in systems and stuff, 3268 is as low as you want to go. That's the fixed version. That's the PCI Express, or M.2 PCI Express only. The fixed version of the 3260, which was the lower end one that came out with the 7260. So 3260 is as low as you want to go. There's also 8260, 9260, 9265. Those are all right. 8260 and 9260/65. But I wouldn't buy those. Like, if you have them, keep them. They're usable. They all use the same driver as the AX200 and AX210. If you're going to buy one, buy a AX200 or 210. Look at the kitty. He's a kitty. Yeah? You have claws in me, buddy. You so happy right now? You know what I mean? You happy? Alright, let's get you guys over to the other. There you go. Just moving my cart so I can get my chair over there. Hey, look, that's exactly 100% where this cart is going. Yeah, I know. These are all parts for that computer right there. Alright. You want more attention. This poor kitty that gets no attention, guys. Down here, he wants more attention. As you can see on all my streams, the poor kitty never gets any attention whatsoever. So this is going to get dropped back in that case real quick here. I just grab it by the CPU cooler because the back plate, that's probably one of the most sturdy places you can grab it. Now, there you go. Looks stock, doesn't it? There you go. And like I said, this the Steel Legend you can order with a Wi-Fi card. You guys saw it earlier. Let me check which one that is. X570 Steel Legend. Excuse me. Wi-Fi. There you go. Steel Legend Wi-Fi AX has. It just says Wi-Fi 6, so it's an AX200 that's in it. So it wouldn't be a bad buy if that's good enough for you guys. You do not need. You just need Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, good quality Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Not a bad thing to pick up then if it's already available on your board. For me though, Extreme 4 is not, even though it's essentially a Steel Legend with a Type C port, front panel Type C. There's not an option to ship it with Wi-Fi pre-installed. But because all others have the option to have it, sorry Hamlet, I did not mean to kick you, buddy. But when you're in my legs and I'm trying to do things, the poor kitty is starved for attention, guys. How dare I? I gotta go grab something to drink. I'll be right back. did you know that the cops now don't even have to ask to get access to the Ring doorbell? They just have to tell you when they access it? Yeah. Like, Facebook will tell you when it gets accessed. You know what I mean? But they don't need, like, your permission anymore. Back. Apparently the garage door was open. Had to close that. I'm just drinking a Lipton green tea here. White peach green tea. Whatever. It's what's in the fridge. People wonder how I decide what I drink and eat. That is how. It's in the fridge. Is that like a flip? Like, alright, we're just tweeting out. See if we can get some more people watching here. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. I'll be glad to answer them. That's why I threw AMA up there. I help people. Last time we helped a guy get the correct Wi-Fi card for his system, and he was somewhere over in Europe. I forget exactly where. But we were able to help him. He had to get a different model than what we suggested just because they don't really have access to Amazon because of COVID. But we were able to at least help to determine like what kind he needed, what slot it needed to go in, find some suggestions, and he found some similar models that were available to him. Alright, let's get this motherboard back in! Yeah! Let's get you over to the correct camera. Okay. One thing I don't like about these specific, the Bluetooth Porter Pros, is they have the stainless steel band up top here, which means that there's not much friction on it, and it slips and makes itself smaller or bigger, kind of on its own. If you get any of the models that have the black anodized band, you won't have that issue. Sorry, itching things. They're itchy. Alright, dropping it in. Do be aware when you drop it in again, if you added Wi-Fi like I just did, the antennas do stick out just a little bit. You kind of have to account for them. Alright, let's get some screws in here. That's what's nice about these little guys. You can put them on a case like that and not have to worry about like wrecking things with super magnetic strength. This is why I also get your longer bit. If you notice, I swapped that out earlier. Don't remember exactly how long this one is, but here's the normal length that I regularly use on both the screwdriver and the drill. Just a little bit longer, and then if you want to get even longer, I got that bad boy. A lot of times you need this for putting in motherboard screws, whereas this one is good for, even the other ones can be good for PCI Express. In here, I have enough clearance where using this for a motherboard is fine. On a deeper case, maybe something that's a 140 mil in the back, you for sure want the longest one. They might make longer ones. This is just the longest that I've found of these 4mm Phillips 2s. What I mean by 4mm, they're very, very skinny, only 4mm in width, which makes it really nice for getting into places. And yeah, I still, if you notice, partial to the snap-ons. Even with the DeWalt. The Bosch, I don't know, I thought I would like that a whole bunch more, and I made a point of getting a specific one. But the having to push to make it work, I mean, you can use the power button, but it's just kind of awkward, in my opinion. If you're used to using a drill, I guess. If you're not, and you're more used to a screwdriver, maybe it makes more sense. Since I've recommended that, though, it's really hard to find them. It looks like the Dremel version might have even been taken off the market, which was much cheaper in the US. A couple features, but essentially the same thing. One thing that bugged me about it is it doesn't have any sort of replaceable battery, even though there's just this the standard lithium-ion cell in there. So. Alright, we're back in. This away. Get the standard bit back on here. If you're wondering what these little green guys are, those are magnets. And I did finally buy green ones to match my green drill. You know? The red drill has red ones. Yeah. And then these kind of like Makita teal colored ones, those are just an older style that I actually prefer. So you'll see them on a lot of my more hand tools. But you can't really get them anymore. These are Ulsa tools. And you get them a whole bunch of colors now. I have a lot of orange, because that used to be the only color that was available as far as I know. But now that I've been able to get different colors, I get the color that matches the drill if I can. Alright, so you just gotta get, now with this power supply I only have an 8-pin PCIe. So, and I mean you can get away with it, that's enough. Actually technically even with an 8-pin, a 4-pin is enough. If you're just doing basic stuff, you can get away with a 4-pin. Alright. This thing's got two USB 3.0 front connectors. That's going to be fun to figure out once I actually put this in an actual build here. These front power plugs are always the most fun. The most fun. Headlamp really helps out with that, for those wondering. I think this is the oldest headlamp I got on me right now. These Army Tech things, like, they last way longer, and use them all the frickin' time, and they. Premium Cree XP H50 White. This is Wizard Pro. See, this is my original Wizard Pro V2. I have, down here I think I have the Pro V2 and the V3. I have specifically the Nichia upstairs, as well as the new Pro something or other, I forget what it's called. Power switch, that's a reset switch. Hard drive LED, I think that's the, yep. Since these are mostly standardized now, I really should get a block that I can pin all these out to and just plug in. Would make my life a ton easier when dealing with newer motherboards on this test bench of a case here. I really do. Oh, and I did, especially because I use these all the time, when I got my Nichia, I believe it was one, I also found all new headbands of the newer style. Not the newest one, because it turns out a little bit after I got the Nichia, they came with a new headlamp I picked up. That has an even newer style headband. I don't know if I like it as much, actually. Yeah. I still send that link to my dad because he uses his for like bike riding and stuff. Or anytime you use these outside, they get just because it soaks in. Yeah, I hear the head. This will just soak in sweat, and after a while, especially if you use them, like I use them for car repair, all this sorts of stuff, right? They just get disgusting. And it has up until recently. I found some places though, now that started to sell. Like the non-magnetic end caps. The newer ones all ship with magnetic charging. I just charge my own lithium batteries, the CR18 360s I think it is. Hopefully that's the correct off the top of my brain amount or number. See, this is the perfect size right here. That's the standard one I have on the drill. Perfect for PCIe slots back here, or PCI slot covers on the back here. Yeah, highly recommend if you just need a nice headlamp for, like I've said before, if it was socially acceptable to just walk around with a headlamp around all the time, I would probably do it. I also have a smaller one for work. That one doesn't have a magnetically rechargeable, it's a cheaper one. So they don't have that whole system in there. It is just, oh yeah, I should know this was the original because there's a white button. All the, like, I've done a video, I think, in the past showing the progression of the different headlamps. I would have to dig through and find that. Like, when I got some of my newer ones, I showed them off. Like, you can see, like, they added a bit more cooling. And there are some knockoffs, like, that is a Chinese-made. It's a Canadian company, but it's Chinese-made, so of course there's definitely then going to be some almost exact Chinese knockoffs. What's funny though is that for the first couple generations, the Chinese knockoff had the reason why I like these is the diffuser. You notice it's a very diffused, you know, like a hot spot. You know, it's very diffused light. They had the diffuser in the wrong way. Think about that. I mean, like, they got the diffuser in there, they knocked it off, I guess. Otherwise, it was very, very similar, but when you put a key component in backwards, it doesn't work the same, turns out. Alright. Alright, we got this thing back together. We got Wi-Fi in here now. We have the 760 in here, which is what I'm going to use for initial setup. Then I will eventually try that replacement 2080 Ti in there for squares and make sure it's working the way it should be, since it's a supposedly brand new one. Oh, looks like Mooskie's on his way over here. Oh. Yeah, so I just saw a thing from Mooski from the other week saying headed over, and I was like, KK. I need to read dates on messages before I reply to them. Alright. Let's get this bad boy plugged in. I'm gonna run upstairs and get my external SSD that has all the drivers on it. And we'll get it working. You got this bad boy plugged in down here. Oh, yeah. Oh. Alright, I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Look at my face there. Alright, so what we're going to do here is head over to downloadcenter.intel.com. Then we just put an AX210 in, so search AX210. AX210. Normally it's supposed to autofill and pop up here. 210 maybe? Is it because we're capturing the screen? I hate when shit like that happens. Hold on here. No, it's just not auto-populating here for whatever reason. Oh! So, this happens, and remember, it's a holiday weekend. So that's why the autocomplete isn't working. Gotta love when stuff goes down for the holiday weekend. Right? Did this deliver the results you expected? Yeah, totally. Well, I was going to show you how to get the Intel drivers, but yeah, that's not happening now. Let's see what we got for AMD. Just go AMD.com. You go drivers and support. In this case, we got chipsets, AM4 chipsets, X570, submit. Around for 6/2 of 21, that was a month ago. Did I already download that one is the question. Yeah, we already got that. And I do believe there's been a newer NVIDIA driver that I may not have gotten. All this is already in my tools folder, for those wondering. So as long as there haven't been any updates, I don't have to download anything. Let's see, right now we got a... Ooh. Okay, we can keep going. 700 series. Got a 760, baby. 4 gig FTW. FT dubs. This should be the last one compatible with the 700 series, for those wondering. As of the 470 series, I believe. It was supposed to be dropped, or if it might be the 480, but I think it was 470. You'd have to check up some news. But this might be the very last driver for 700 series right here. And let's grab one for the 2080 Ti right away. If it's that same one, it might be the same still. RTX 20 series, 2080 Ti, and we're gonna go studio. We can just hit search. Yeah, there was a new studio driver as well. Okay, so we want both of those. Now, hopefully we're not dropping frames because I'm just on Wi-Fi on my laptop here. Eventually I need to get an actual stream set up. Yep, we're dropping frames. Sorry. There's not much I can do because I could go download it on the repair PC, but... DCH usually means the studio driver, I think, or is it the... NSD is the studio driver. Crap, probably killing the stream right now. Yep, we're down to 1,000. So this is why you guys don't use Wi-Fi for streaming. When you start to do other stuff with it, then it tanks. We can cancel this one. Oh yeah, besides doing this, it's also syncing it over to my other computers. Yeah, here's why you want LAN, guys, when you're streaming. We're down to 200 kilobits a second. I'm probably looking like utter offline. Offline is what I am. Are we back up yet? What's up? I'm coming up. I can't hear you at all. What's going on? guessing we're still down. No? Are we back up? Hey, we're back up. Thumbs up. I'm also strangling myself somehow. If you guys are running low for the money, Port Pros sound great. You headed out? What's up? Alright, I'm back. Yeah, once the laptop finished uploading to the rest of the network, we were fine, because everything else is at least gigabit, if not 10 gigabit. A lot of it's SSDs. So those, like, gig or two of files flew around real fast. Already got them on the external hard drive here, external SSD. So what we're going to do is boot this bad boy up. Ugh. Power! Power! Okay, let's get the side panel back on here. Side panel's on, system's booted up. We do have a Type-C on the back here. They don't have the front wired up because, yeah, a Antec 300 first gen does not have USB-C on the front, for those wondering. I got USB 3 from the Antec 300 V2 because the front panel is the same. But yeah, not gonna have Type-C. So I had to go in the back there. Ugh. Let's put away our cordless keyboard here. Off as well, that'll help. Alright. Oh, here, we need to put on, remember these little nubbins that I was talking about? Perfect application for the nubbins. So that way I don't have to run full antennas or anything back here. You just screw on the nubbins. And we should at least have some Wi-Fi range. Alright. Grab the keyboard, turn the monitor. We only got 400 DPI on this old mousey over here, but tools, system drivers, chipset. I didn't grab the. I will need the AMD RAID, as I will be using it on here eventually. For right now, I'm not too worried. Otherwise, I can manually go and grab it as well. The other thing we probably need is, let's try Precision X. Wouldn't be bad. We need the, mostly it's AMD chipset and NVIDIA. Some Galneris, it sounds like now. What else did I put on here? Wi-Fi. So we'll see how far we get with just this here. I think this technically has Intel LAN as well. I'm not too worried about that because I'm not going to be using that right now for this setup, and then we're going to have a reinstall shortly after. Because this is also a newer system, and it will be the home theater PC, it will be in clean install with 21H1. Hopefully this won't be taking long enough where I'll need to clean install Windows 11. But I will make sure it can be upgraded to Windows 11, and that the correct, secure boot and TPM stuff is enabled once I do the final install. That'll happen quite a ways from now, though, probably, because the current server/home theater PC has to be taken out first, because this is going in that case with a lot of those accessories and stuff. Alright, so while those drivers install, I can put this away. This goes with that over there. these can you put away? Ooh, put away as well. So I bop into our camera. Alright, looks like that chipset's installed. Wants a restart. If you have the time, if it asks for a restart, do a restart after every driver. If you don't got the time, like I didn't have when I was in that NUC the other day, don't take the time. Just do them all with a restart, or with one restart. Not as ideal, you'll probably run into more issues, but what you gonna do if you don't got the time? Okay, for AMD chipset, we're going to do GPU driver. This GPU driver, the one I'm grabbing right now, oh shit, is the wrong one. So I grabbed the studio driver. And it looks like the 471 is still... Yeah, 471.11 is still 700 series. What I basically do is I have a tools folder, if I was wondering, that I have sync across to all my computers via BitTorrent sync, or now Resilio sync. I always call it the older name, because I've used it for many years in beta and when it launched and stuff like that. Resilio sync though, and then now if you pay for Resilio sync, you can do local folder sync. So then I set on my desktop upstairs, and that T7 SSD always gets the same driver when it's plugged in. So you plug that puppy in, it sees it, and then we'll sync the folder and update the tools folder over to that. And then any changes did to that also locally, like say I'll save benchmark results, stuff like that to it, it'll sync to the tools folder and to all the computers. It's sort of like using OneDrive/Dropbox, except it doesn't go up to the cloud at all. So as long as you have everything on your local network, the sync time is ridiculously fast, and you have it on all your computers. And you can go through the internet, and then that's not going to be... Like, you uploading is always restricted by the connection at your location. So it'd be just as slow with Dropbox. The annoying thing was, always for me with using OneDrive or something like that, is in order to get it over to another computer, you first had to upload it to OneDrive, let's say, and then you had to download it again. Whereas using something like Resilio Sync, it just syncs across your LAN. And normally my desktop has 10 gig, but 38 Ti right now covers up the slot I would use for my 10 gig card until it's water cooled. So, not as fast as it could be, but still way faster than the internet. Especially the whole uploading and downloading thing. And obviously once you get, like say I got my work computer, if it's at work, that's a whole different internet connection, or if I use my server online, then you'll have more upload points. And once it's on one system, that system, you can share it over the other. It's just like doing BitTorrent. I've been really considering sharing my tools drive as read-only to some of you guys out there that are interested in it. And you can use the Resilio Sync for free, for those wondering. Let's, while we're waiting on that thing, let's switch you over to, here you go. There you go, that's Resilio Sync there. So you can see my tools folder right there, a bunch of other things I'm syncing. Oh, you can do partial syncs. That's another thing I do. Like with my downloads, it all syncs to my desktop and the server. Excuse me, the server. As a backup folder. Or not even that a backup folder really, but like my laptop and Surface and stuff like that, they don't download the other computer stuff, whereas the server does because it gets backed up, and my desktop does because that's a lot of times I'll download something here and want to work on it there, and it'll just sync it right over there. Super handy. Then when you delete something one place, it deletes it someplace else. As long as the server's backing it up, though, you don't have to worry if what you accidentally did. And that is, you gotta remember, a big difference between a cloud sync service, or like a cloud service or this Resilio Sync, is that is a sync, not a backup. You can set up a backup with Resilio Sync. That means that when a file is copied from this location to this other one, it will keep doing it and just add it. So when you delete it here, it doesn't delete it there. That's a backup. Same thing with version history. That's another thing that Resilio Sync can't do, even if you have backups, is if you make a new version here, it'll overwrite here, generally speaking. Whereas a true backup will probably keep X number of versions here, or X amount of versions. What we're going to do here is I have the ASRock X570 Extreme 4. There she is. We're going to go to support here. I do believe I already updated this. I'll have to check. I believe that was one of the first things I did, though. So we'll have to double check. What I'm going to do is make a driver folder, though, for I still haven't decided on a new name for the new HTPC, so we're just going to call it HTPC for now. VX.X, I'm not sure, because depending on the name, it used to be the home theater PC was always a duplicate. So, can I add an existing video capture device? Add existing laptop. Okay. Oh, yeah, we don't need to be that big. There we go. There we go. What's gonna have a similar layout to this? Probably Kai or Preston. Probably Preston's. Win10x64 21H1 UEFI. ASRock X570 Extreme 4 plus a Ryzen R5 2600. I think it's it was just a Ryzen 5 2600. I don't remember how they named those. Yeah, it's just a Ryzen 5 2600. Basically, I make a folder for each one of my computers. That has... Oh, this is probably tanking performance again. I do apologize if it does. I'm having to transfer stuff. Alright, so next up, it's going to be Wi-Fi. One downside about the AX200 and AX210, 3268 will be natively Windows compatible, like the installer for Windows 10 will have support for it. The AX210, or AX200, AX210 will not. So just something to be aware of. Kind of wondering what our signal strength is like with those nubbins on there. Yeah, we got full strength of the network in the house. Any people outside the house, which I can normally see like on my laptop and everything, you cannot see. You can't see stuff outside of the network, but or outside the house. The networks that are outside the house, but I have 100% full signal strength with just those little nubbins. Like I said, a lot of times for setup of computers, just having an antenna is better than, you know, nothing. Let's go to downloads here 1 second, and yep, looks like I updated the BIOS as far as 3.7, which that is as far as it can go right now. I need to sync those over to this computer here. And because I don't generally have everything sync over to the laptop, I did have to sync it. It's syncing over from, I think, the repair PC over there. But remember, it's not just that one sending it over, because the server has it as well as my desktop. Always keep the old BIOSes. A lot of times you can get them from the manufacturer, but sometimes you can't. So I'd rather have them on hand, especially because you already downloaded them. Just, you know, on your driver folder, you have a folder in there called BIOS for like your system. Like, say if you don't have like sync like I'm using, or you don't have a server or a NAS, put it on there if you do. Or I would even recommend, if you have like a nice big desktop, have a hard drive in there, or even better, a pair of hard drives in RAID 1 that would, you know, back this up. And then I used to call that, way back in the day before I had a server, my archive drive. And then you just put all the stuff you want to keep over there. You know, keep it over there, or have file history set up on your computer. Have it saved to that, just in case. File history, especially with how Windows 10 does updates and stuff, and it's not supposed to touch app data, but it does. A whole bunch of stuff like that, it will save your butt. You do have to manually add app data folders, because that would get really messy. A lot of that's temporary data. I would recommend doing it like Firefox. I don't want to lose my profile for that. So make sure that's added as just add a make a new library for Firefox, and then add all the Firefox data to it. Yeah, right-click, add to library, add library Firefox, and then file history will file history by default grabs all libraries. So that's a nice way of doing that. So I definitely have, like, even if you don't have a NAS per se, have at least a hard drive, or preferably a RAID 1 of hard drives that you store stuff to. And then use Backblaze as a backup for your whole computer. That'd be my recommendation. I do have a Backblaze link if you guys want it. It should just be text.cx/backblaze, and you can get a. It helps me out. If you guys get a month, I get a month. Essentially, is what happens. And so, like, once you have some sort of redundancy in your local computer, then have it back up to the web. So you actually have a proper, like, that keeps a 30-day file history of your files. It's like $60 a year. Well worth it. And they'll do terabytes upon terabytes. They don't like it when you do like more than 4, but they'll do it still because it's unlimited. So that's my recommendation. Like, even if you don't have, or like say with this drivers folder, use 7-zip, zip it up, and then stick it on your OneDrive or your Google Drive or something like that. It might be a couple gigs, but if you have to reinstall Windows, you're gonna have all your drivers already there for you, and maybe you want to get updated ones, but at least this will get you working, or you'll have a list of the ones you need to find. That's what helps me a lot. Or sometimes they'll discontinue a product. Like, say if you have a 4th gen Intel, you're not downloading those drivers from Intel anymore. Or if you have an older board and you want to use Intel Smart Response, they removed that from the driver 2 full versions of driver ago, at least. And if you want to use that, you have to have the older driver, which they no longer maintain. So it's just always good to keep that sort of stuff. That's why if you get a product and it comes with a disk and it's not something like super obvious that you can go download, make an image of that disk, save it on your server, save it on your archive drive. That's what I always used to do. And eventually your archive drive will probably get big enough where you'll end up with an NAS because you want to access it on other stuff. So it's just save everything is basically what I'm telling you guys to do. Especially because it's data. You can always buy more storage. Buying storage is not a problem. Alright, so we have AMD chipset, Intel LAN, which I do have as well saved in my... Oop, what did I just do? I need to do a duplicate tab shortcut here. And I always download the original driver from, that's what we're doing right now, from ASRock, or from, Asus or whoever is the original manufacturer of this stuff. And then I also grab the latest that I can manually find elsewhere. Looks like I do need to find Ryzen Master. Ryzen Master. One thing I will note is with Firefox, if you notice all my tabs open right to the right of the tab, that is a setting you can do in there. Highly recommend doing that. I hate when I do Control-T and it opens the tab way at the end of my tabs when I have so many open. I don't remember exactly what setting it is, I'm sorry, but highly recommend you that you guys find that setting and enable it. I get very annoyed when I do a Control-T on a brand new version of Firefox and it opens the tab at the end of the tab row instead of next to the current tab. Oh. 262.18.18. Also, I know why they do this. Like the installer, like for Ryzen Master, is just named Ryzen Master when it's actually, but then it's hard to tell that you're downloading a new version or not. So I manually put version numbers at the end. Yeah, like here on this one for Preston was originally 211.14.72. Now we're on 262.18.18. So like, you know, that's a ways away. And I never delete anything on my downloads. That's another reason why you get the archive drive. When your downloads folder on your main C drive gets huge, like you're running out of space in your C drive and you look at, oh, I got 50 gigs in downloads. What you do is you copy all those to your archive drive and zip it up. And you say downloads until a date. And that way you know these are all your downloads until this date, essentially. And then you can search those. Or if you think you're going to have to be going back there more regularly, you can not zip them. Or if you don't mind just having one giant old, quote-unquote, old downloads folder, you can just stick those in one folder and then, like, you know, then it maintains that. I tend to zip them up because they take so much room. And a lot of those downloads are EXEs and stuff like that, which are very, very compressible. Just for reference. Same thing with these computer driver folders. Computer drivers are very fat. They'll compress a lot. So let's head back to here, Intel LAN driver. Now, if you go over here, we should be able to figure out which Intel LAN. If you go over to the, like the actual specifications of the motherboard here, it has a, here you go, i211AT Intel. Now, pretty much all the Intel LAN drivers that are relatively new, and there you go, i211AT is the same one. See, this is why I grabbed Preston or Frozen Slate's motherboard, is because he also has an X570 from ASRock. So this will save me some time when it comes to naming folders and stuff like that. Oh, and for those wondering why I can kind of dismiss companies not naming their file installers for like drivers and stuff, it's because basically they chuck it in a folder and they don't want to redirect the link on the website to get you the updated one, so that they just name something to generic. They just know the updated one has to be named, so that's something generic, rather than having to go and edit the website every time. And the person that uploads that driver to that web portal or that server is probably a different person that would have to update that website, so it just minimizes the number of people that have to poke stuff. And I always want the Pro Set ones, generally speaking. And that basically the Pro Set includes the Intel's utility for their LAN. Probably offline again. Well, let's head over to the computer over here. Wake it back up, because apparently it fell asleep on me. Installation of the Bluetooth was complete. Good. Now I know I need that Intel LAN from looking up the drivers there, which I already have because of work. And I work on so many systems. I just maintain this, like, generic system drivers folder that has like AMD chipset, AMD Radeon graphics, various Intel Wi-Fi, various Intel graphics, NVIDIA graphics, Realtek audio, Realtek LAN, all that sort of stuff. And that way, if you're doing stuff like I do so regularly, and you maintain that on that synced, Alright, looks like you should be able to use the Intel Advanced Network Services nowadays on Windows 10. It used to be you had to make sure that stuff was disabled because it wasn't working. What? What? Is the ProSet utility now separate from the driver itself? Really? Alright, well guys, I guess the driver for Intel is now a separate installer from the utility, which I did not know. See, I learn new things every day. Yeah, you gotta install the latest Intel driver first before it'll let you install the utility. Hey, who knew? I thought in the past, at least prior to like version 26, the driver was included with the ProSet utility. Who knew? Who freaking knew? Probably somebody out there, one of you guys knew. Take a peek at what else we have here. Next up on the list is we did Intel and RAID Expert Utility. I do need to download those. I forgot about that. And that system does have RAID. I'm not too worried about making sure drivers are installed at the moment though, because we're not using it. We won't be using it until it actually becomes the home theater PC. Then I have some extra 3 terabyte drives that somebody knocked on the floor. Wasn't me. I came in and 2 or 3 of the 5 I have, because when you're using 4 you want 5 for a backup, as in if one dies, so you can swap it in right away. But somebody had knocked them off a shelf onto the floor. They're now saved, but they were off when they got knocked down, but it was like a 2-3 foot drop, so I really freaking hope that they didn't get broken. Not that hard drives are that expensive now, and 3 terabytes, you could do that in SSDs, you know, but like, yeah, not happy about it, you know what I mean? I forgot about AMD's website being a piece of garbage and like not working with like more secure browsers like Firefox and stuff. It lets you get to the download page, but then won't start it for whatever reason. Like if you have certain security things enabled in Firefox. And once again, I can see on like at least the yeah, they numbered like the RAID software and the RAID driver, but the Store My technology, they didn't. It's just named Store My. So that's when you got to copy the version from the website, put an underscore, and paste it in there. The RAID Expert utility, that's the GUI, or the GUI interface for the RAID. SATA floppy image version, what that means is that is the RAID driver if you need to boot from the RAID array. You need to install that during the Windows install, essentially. Like where when you select what drive, if you'll see a load driver option there, that's just going to let you load the storage driver so you can load the RAID driver and actually install onto that. And the Store MI that's available now is actually completely different from the old Store MI. So I'll be keeping both of those around, probably. In this case, I don't think I'll be using StoreMy. You can cache drives with it. I know we were trying to use it on a couple systems, but it has some like weird limitations and stuff. Like it has to be your boot drive, if I recall. Like I said, remember that RAID 1 array I was talking about? It's nice to be able to cache that with an SSD, especially because a lot of people already have slightly larger, maybe TLC or QLC SSDs that are a terabyte or two for games. You can use 32, 64 gigs of that to cache those hard drives and speed them up a lot. That's what I used to do with the Intel Smart Response, and can't really do that with StoreMy from my experience. It's real finicky. Also, AMD used to split up NVMe RAID from how do you want to put this? Like, if you had RAID enabled, you had to have your drives in RAID. It was this very weird issue with first gen that they did later fix. It was stupid though. That so if you use RAID at all your drives had to be RAID. So you couldn't do like an NVMe boot drive going directly to the CPU not in RAID, and then 2 hard drives in RAID. AMD would have none of that originally. And then, don't forget to use StoreMI. I believe you can't actually be in RAID. That's another thing. And, like, I wanted to cache that RAID 1 array. Like, that was the whole point of this. Because that's how I did it on Intel in the past before. But because that original StoreMI technology was third party, it specifically would not work. Supposedly, they're working on fixing that, but as you can see, they had to develop their own software, and I still don't know that fixed it. They had to develop their own in order to, instead of using somebody else's. It's kind of like what they did originally, like the original chipsets were as media. Then later on, AMD did finally eventually make their own. So, they were having to do what they had to do to get stuff out of the door. I can understand that, right? I'm sure you guys can as well. No idea what the ASRock motherboard utility is. We don't need the VGA driver because there's never going to be a integrated GPU that is going into... Yeah. I like how it recommends the Restart UEFI 1.06 when there is a newer one that I already have. We're not getting the Norton. There's no reason to have that. Very odd that that's even there, to be truthful, in my opinion. But and there's the Polychrome RGB. I got 1060. This is a much newer version. It is beta. And then there's a non-beta version. No idea what the difference is, but the old one worked like crap, and a lot of games thought you were hacking. So hopefully the new one's better. And I will add a beta moniker. To the file name, just so that I know, because I'll probably use 99. To be truthful, I'll probably just turn off the RGB. That's the true move, if you guys know what I mean. Yeah, I do maintain, like, in here, the manuals folder. Just download our English manuals, so that way in the future I can just hop on the server, you know, or your archive drive or wherever, and you already have it. You don't have to go to the website and find it again. It's just much nicer to do, so you don't have to find it every freaking time you need to use it. Get those copied over. The only one I think I need to get over there is the RAID drivers, because those weren't on the tools drive or tools folder yet. Back to I also keep a, usually on the server I have a folder of just all my software, but especially when I make these folders for other people, if they have like a Windows 10 license for them, I keep just a folder called licensed software. We got documentation that has manuals, parts, like it's nice to keep a parts list in there, especially if you're doing it for somebody else, because that way, you know, if they ever have to do it or they have to have somebody else work on it, they can know like what actual parts are in their system, which can make it easier for troubleshooting, or can make it easier for you for troubleshooting or downloading stuff, or you know, whatever. And eventually this will have a 10 gig Ethernet in here, so I generally have a additional devices folder. The one thing we didn't download yet is the Realtek audio, which is important because that comes from the Microsoft Store, and I've been having an issue downloading that piece of software if you don't have something in there else, otherwise. The last thing we needed from ASRock here, because I forgot about it, was the Realtek here, because it's got a little bit different of a... And you want to use this when there's because it just updates via the Microsoft Store. But this is here, the Realtek audio control we download from Microsoft Store when an internet connection is available. From what I can tell, you can't manually force that anymore, because I've saved like the URL to it, and I have not had the best of luck just manually going to that link and getting it to install at all. Now in this case, I don't know if I disabled the onboard audio or not. I might have. So this may not even be an issue. So here we have audio, BIOS done, chipset done, graphics card technically done. I don't, like, in the end it'll be a RTX 2060 that's in there. For now, we don't really care. Yeah, the only thing that has to get over to that computer right now is maybe Realtek audio if that is on there, or it is the RAID drivers. So, and I can hop on the network and grab that now, because I was editing this folder on the server. Might as well access it that way. So all we should have to do now is grab, get this on our Wi-Fi. Over here. If you guys don't know this, but in 20H2, Microsoft finally gave you a link from the taskbar to go to Sounds, which is the sound one in Control Panel. So I finally don't have to make shortcuts for that. Yeah, it looks like we do not need the audio driver because it's just disabled, and I don't use onboard audio because it's gonna have HDMI to the not home theater PC, the receiver. So there's nothing to really worry about there. I'm going to eject my external SSD here, and then the other thing that you want to do generally, that I do when I set up new computers, is create a power profile that never turns off. Because that's annoying. Also, disable fast startup, especially if you're on a desktop. Kill that shit. Yeah, I just create a power plan, use high performance, at least for the setup, so like it doesn't turn off in the middle of you doing something. And I just name it cust. You can do cust. Name it however you want, but I just usually do custom, and then high perf, so I know which ones it's based on, because like there's Ryzen balance, that's ideally the one you want to use in the end for Ryzen, but I do high prefers, and then always on. I don't just name it always on anymore because there is actually a default one, at least there used to be, and it's still accessible. That is like the bog standard from Microsoft always on profile. The other one that's available on here is Ultimate Performance. Since I am running Windows 10 Pro for workstations, Ultimate Performance is available, and it's what I used when the old one is also my server. So like it basically never throttles anything down. However, when this is actually a home theater PC, I will be letting it go to sleep and all that sort of stuff because it won't need to be on unless I'm using it anymore. But yeah, still the fast startup, quote unquote, is actually just when you hit shutdown, it goes to hibernate instead. If you have an SSD, especially an NVMe one as your boot drive, not worth the trouble. Because a lot of times it will not come out of hibernate properly, and then you have to force power cycle it. And a lot of people don't know that's a thing they have to do either, or they think it's like a bad thing to do. So especially when you're doing stuff for other people, unless they know and are a little bit more educated, just disable fast startup. Now, if you are properly set up with proper driver's laptop, I would enable fast startup, hybrid sleep, all that sort of shit, because it's super handy. You just have to know if you ever like try to wake it from sleep or hibernate and it doesn't come up, just force power cycle that shit. There we go, we got our always on power profile. We're gonna give it a restart. I'm gonna check to make sure RAID mode is enabled. I just realized I'm gonna need to plug this back in because we need to install stuff like DirectX, other like base system shit that you need. Yeah, we're in RAID already. Cool, cool. We also want secure boot. I'll enable that on the final install, but so annoying that we're gonna need the TPM and secure boot. Eventually. So annoying. Basically what I'm trying to do with this system is get it to the point where I can run some benchmarks. Want to make sure that 760 that dropped off the same shelf, by the way, that those hard drives fell off, and those were at different times because I didn't notice those. Those hard drives were like fell behind a chair after they crashed to the ground, and you can see dents on one or two of them. You see how fast that booted? And the graphics card's on that same shelf, so somebody fucking bopped that thing twice now. It might be two different people, but hopefully it was just physical damage that happened to the 760. We'll find out. It's really nice when this 760 can do BIOS and UEFI boot. Granted, it'll be dropped by NVIDIA shortly, but and it's the 4 gig, so it's actually useful still, and the FTW, so it's that's pretty much the best version you can get, or dang near. Alright, so let's get this thing on the network real quick so I can get the drivers for the RAID. I'm not really doing any major setup on this, for those wondering. We enabled network stuff here. RAID drivers to the desktop here. We didn't need the audio because audio is disabled. Oh, I forgot about Precision X. We're going to need that, that's for sure. Especially if we're trying to get the most out of this card here. Oh, we forgot one thing. I'd say it's pretty good. Oh, and we could probably do the Ryzen Master as well. Yeah, getting the RAID to work for a boot, if you guys are wanting to boot from it, it's less complex now because you can enable RAID and have drives not just like Intel used to be able to. You can have the drives that are not in RAID just show up as AHCI essentially, and you can enable a hot plug and that sort of stuff, which I will be doing. However, in the older chipsets and older drivers, you would have to load the RAID driver just to load a single drive. In a lot of cases, you might even have to make a single drive JOBD array if you want some of your drives in actual RAID arrays, and then like other ones not. It was dumb. They have since fixed that. But it was like usability stuff like that, which is why my main systems were not on AMD first and even second gen. Third gen, real nice. I built a lot of second gen systems, or second gen systems in third gen boards, because or even like the 1600 AX was an amazing chip. It was basically a 2600, but marketed as the 1600. Just installed 7-zip, so I have something to work with on that in that regards here. The other thing, just because I don't want to deal with it, I'll be disabling user account control in a second here, because that's super friggin' annoying. I'm getting bopped here by Gertrude, who wants some attention because she's a little cutie. Yeah. Gertie Trudels. How cute are you? I personally don't run user account control. Anybody I know that like is good deep with computers turns that shit off too. It's better than it was back in the day in Vista 7, but I don't need it to ask me anytime I want to run an EXE. Oh, do you really want to run that? No, just fucking run it. You know, I know what I'm doing. Now, in other people's systems, I never turn that shit off. No. The more steps that your average person has to jump through in order to get to something, the better. installing stuff like Visual C++. If you go to Tech Power Up, they have like a big bundle you can get with all of them in where you just run a batch file and it installs or updates them all. Highly recommended. You can also subscribe for them to sending you news or email updates when that stuff updates. Like you can do it for the Intel Wi-Fi drivers, graphics drivers, LAN drivers, NVIDIA graphics driver. That's how I get my notification of when the new ones come out, and they seem to maintain that. And why not have somebody else maintain it? Now I do update it in my tools folder then, but why should I bother maintaining when new stuff is coming out when I can have somebody else tell me? Right? I'm gonna need some food here in a bit. Installing DX9 as well, because I don't know if you guys know this or not, but DX9 does not come with Windows 10, and so many freaking things use DX9, or like Direct 3D that use that version. Just grab the web installer from Microsoft and install the crap out of that. There's some stuff you'll find over time that you want on every system. Like Java used to be one. Rarely now. Most stuff's JavaScript now, not Java. So you can get away with not having like true Java. How do you want to put this? Flash you used to need, Air, like all that shit. Like C++ is probably like the only one, and you need that for games. Other like Ryzen Master just asked for like a certain version of C++ or Visual C++. That's kind of like the big one. And I'd rather just install them all and be done with than have each program have to like install its own version and shit. For whatever reason, it looks like DirectX installer stalled out. Yes. Don't know what happened there. Yeah, we'll try reinstalling DirectX again here. Yeah, so I think this guy, this Evercool, I'd probably go with the Delta I found. The, just feels better built than the Evercool. It does a little bit louder at full RPM, but seems much more static pressure, and if you're pushing into a heatsink like that, that is much more gooder. Much more gooder, guys. Much more gooder. Trying to find a stopping point here because I need to get some food, and then we'll come back with some Pokemans because it's getting about 10 o'clock here. I really need to get the server, but I also need to get this graphics card in working order here. I'm debating if I want to do this by hand with like a sanding block, but it does seem to be more sanding than that. So I'm considering power tools. extension on here because Alright, well, I didn't want to use the orbital sander, but that's all I found. I can probably dig around for a while. We need to organize stuff better in the basement here, but I haven't got all the shelving up yet. But I found the orbital sander. I couldn't find the finish sander, which is when it just vibrates. The orbital goes like randomly orbitally. Not optimal for doing like a flat side on a fan here like this. But rather use power tools than by hand, and I don't want to dig around and find, because this really shouldn't be much. I don't think. I might be wrong, and it might be a ton, but it just feels like it's just barely catching. And my measurement said it's an 80 mil amount, so we'll just buzz some off here real quick. Well, we lent this orbital sander to somebody, and they never emptied it before bringing it here. And then I decided to, because I'm doing it over the garbage to try and keep dust down, right? Well, then I decided to do the orbital sanding over the same garbage I put the dust in. So guess what? Because of the spinning, sending dust everywhere. Fucking, I was dumb. Should have just done it in our garbage, out in the garage or something. But yeah, not only am I getting dust off of this from sanding it, but I'm getting, it blown around. Making more friggin' sawdust from the previous person on me than I am dust from this. Oh, baby. We're close. We're close. Almost done. And I'm not taking off. Here, I'll switch you over to the Razor Cam. Here you go. I am not taking off much. You guys can see that. Here's the standard side. Right there. Standard side. And that is the side I've sanded off. It's pretty rough sandpaper, but I really don't care for what I'm doing here. Yeah, and you can see I'm not getting it flat at all because it's a random orbital sander, but it's going quick. More, and we're going to start getting into the frame of the fan. It's a little bit weaker already, as is. Hey, but we fit, and we fit good. Like the type of good fit that... Here. Check that out. That is a tight fit. Exactly what I'm looking for. It's hitting these wires right now. The wires are going to go under that pipe and plug into there. Heat pipe and plug in there. But that is exactly how I imagine that should look. It will have a single slot, PCI slot on there eventually. I have a new one of these coming in. Actually ordered two just in case. I'm going to cut in half. So it can't, because it's going to overhang the bottom slot of the motherboard. I can only have it on the one slot, and I really don't want to mess up the stock MSI stuff, because the key thing, guys, is remember, if you can get back to stock, as much as MSI says taking that screw off voids your warranty, they literally cannot say that in the US. So I can suck my, you know. But yeah, so I am super happy with how this turned out. I need to figure out some way to hold it in there yet. Because all the screw holes are outside of the heatsink. Because like right now, I think it would just. Oh no, it's in there. Maybe we just need. Oh, Haku's gonna melt because it's on a heatsink. I don't know. We'll find something to just. Because I mean, it's pretty wedged in there. Currently. But, you know, like with it spinning all the time and stuff like that, you could be a little bit worried about it working itself loose somehow. Gotta post that to the Twitter. Alright, with that, guys, I gotta go get some food. I'm starving. It's been fun. Hopefully you guys have had fun. If you're on the rewatch, hopefully you gained some knowledge. I gotta get some food. I gotta figure out some way for that fan to stay in there. But once that works, I can get the server, start putting like power cables in and shit, and start getting it working. So, yeah, I'm very happy with how that mod turned out, especially because it makes the card fit, and to be truthful, that's probably a better, fan than it had on there, because all it had on there was like a little tiny MSI fan. Like, it had the shroud that's going to help the air go down go out through the rest of the fins, but that shroud is also what's preventing me from actually installing the GPU into the slot. And now I've managed to slim it down to less than a 2 slot as well, because that's only a 15 mil fan that slots right into the heatsink exact height. So like I had to sand that down a little bit. Really should have not used an orbital sander, but hey, when that has sandpaper on and I can find it versus the finish sander, that's what gets used. So hopefully you guys have learned some stuff here and enjoyed it. I've had fun streaming as always, and you guys might be seeing me back on in a bit, but it'll be for them that they're Pokemans, which we have no camera on right now because they're right there. You can see some Pokemons back there as well, though. So we'll be doing some Pokemon polls tonight, more than likely, and so keep an eye out for a notification of me going live, or our Twitter at Tech Exchange, the Instagram, same thing, and hopefully we'll see you then. Peace. Have a good one.